another episode of E&F TV's Bridging the Gap. And today I'm joined by fellow Rotherham United fan and sleep celebrity, James Wilson. James, how are you?
And well, Sleep Celebrity might be pushing it a little bit. I will be honest. I think what was Blue's dead list? That might be the case. Although I would say I'm in the top 5 famous Rotherham fans, if that works. After obviously the Chuckle Brothers or remaining Chuckle Brother and a couple of other people.
All right, so I was thinking about this earlier and I've got you at number 3. So I've got Chuckle Brothers, I'm putting them in as together, not a 1 and 2, but at 1. Howard Webb, and then you.
Now I'd
How's
say
that?
Dean Andrews. Dean Andrews on Emmerdale. That beats me.
Oh, yeah.
And that fellow who's the bass player out of Muse, I'd say, depending on your view. Now, he's not been on this morning, so whether he is more, it depends how you're judging fame, but the bass player at Muse might be. I'd say I'm coming at number 5 of current, famous Rotherham fans.
Well, I've got you as bronze medal, so I accept it. But yeah, you say you're not famous, but if I Google you, there's quite a few hits that come up. Although I didn't see that you've got a Wikipedia page, so maybe not.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I got Wikipedia page. We need to change that. So yes, I do TV work. I do things like this morning, BBC Breakfast, Test Pack Lunch. I did a TV program on Channel 4 called The Secrets of Sleep. I think it's still on All 4 if you want to check it out. Big in Singapore, suppose that program. So there you go. I'm big in Singapore, and I do. I work in corporates and sports teams in my day-to-day work. So I've worked with people like Marks and Spencer's, Next, Under Armour, AB World Foods, lots and lots of big brands. I'm in sports. I have worked with Rotherham, our team. I'm a lot to do with our 3 promotions and Papa John's Trophy over 5 seasons.
None of the relegations.
Yeah, less to do with the relegations. That weren't my fault. I worked with Sheffield United under Chris Wilder. We got promoted there. The Cowley brothers at Lincoln got promoted there. West Ham United's first trophy in 43 years last season. Yeah, all down to me. So I do work. Quite a lot in sports, and really my job is to help people understand sleep better and understand like who they are as sleepers, accept who they are as sleepers, and then the simple things they can do in terms of getting better sleep. And I think hopefully today we'll touch on like how people can actually understand their sleep better. And we're talking to people actually a lot of their job, ultimately how their customers will decide whether their brands have done a good job or not is how they sleep. So it's always interesting working in the hospitality sector. I've worked with some hotel chains. I've worked with some people in that sector. And I think it's always interesting because for a lot of people I talk to, that they've actually got a job to do, helping people get good sleep.
Fantastic. Less about Rotherham United, although I've come decked out in the shirt today. I've got my son did me a Rotherham United picture, and I've got my water bottle. But let's move on because I can't wait to hear how you got into this. How did you become the sleep geek?
So I'm a poor sleeper myself. Genetically, I'm a poor sleeper. So underlying, I'm not a great sleeper. Teenager in particular, I was a great sleeper. I was an academy player at Rotherham for a short amount of time. Wasn't very long, about 4 months. My poor sleep was a lot to it. My dad had actually played for Rotherham under Tommy Docherty. So we're from a family of footballers. But there was a problem with my poor sleep in terms of my family background. In that my family made beds and mattresses, and I couldn't sleep. So it was a bit of a paradox. The heart of my being, and as a company, as a family. I didn't really talk about it. Got to my mid-20s, and we employed a sleep expert. The family business we started out supplying into sort of shops. Our claim to fame is that the company my grandpa founded, they invented the cabin bed. That's their claim to fame. They're not the only people who claim that. So my dad, the story is my dad took out a bottom bunk, put a sofa there, and my grandpa told him, because it was me, that was my mum's dad, the founder of the company. So it was his son-in-law. Told him what a stupid idea, Mick. Who would buy that? And obviously, my grandpa was wrong. So we got quite, third generation in that industry. Employed a sleep expert for the retail brand that we had at the time, and he was just a dipstick. He was horrible. We were telling people it was their fault. It was just really prescriptive, and I just thought I could do better than this. So I trained I was involved with a charity called the Sleep Charity. They call that now. They were the Children's Sleep Charity. So I trained as a kids sleep practitioner with them first. Did a lot of work with teenagers. Got put forward for an audition for Channel 4 in terms of the TV program, Secrets of Sleep. And on that program, realised what I was really good at was translating. So there was some great sort of academics on that program, some great clinicians, but I was good at talking in normal people's language. I could turn something that was quite complicated, quite nuanced into not that prescriptive. You need to do. You need to do. You don't need to do this. But more. This is how you understand yourself. This is how you understand well what your underlying genetics are. Are you a good sleeper? Are you a poor sleeper? What your sleep type is. Are you more likely to be a bit of an owl or more likely to be a bit of a lark? What your need is in terms of sleep. Not just about how much, but also about how good. When we start there, then we can start to like try and solve the issues. What I find is a lot of people jump into the middle of that conversation. So they'll just buy something. They'll go, oh, I'll get Headspace. Well, if you've got a sore shoulder, you can meditate with using Headspace till the cows come home. It's not going to solve your sleep issue. So I think it's my company, Kitmate, that I run. That's what we do. We break down sort of the walls between different parts of sleep, whether it's product, whether it's behavioral experts like me, whether it's clinicians, whether it's training, whether it's helping people find the right practitioners for them. And we sort of pull that stuff together. We're trying to help people as much as possible, whether it's corporates, corporates I've talked about. We work with everyone from sort of pen-sized teams up to massive multinational companies. And we train people and we help people develop products, and I certify products as a sleep geek. And we're trying to get people the sleep that they need, because I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad advice out there. There's a lot of people on podcasts spouting a load of rubbish, and I'm trying to help people like just get a better understanding, and often it's not that difficult to solve the problem. You just need to understand where you need to start the journey.
Yeah, I think it is prevalent these days, isn't it? You get one social media celebrity, a high flyer that says, I'm part of the 4 a.m. club. If you want to conquer and you want to do well, you need to get up at 4 o'clock. And then Stephen Bartlett conversely gets up about 12 because that's his kind of pattern. And he's in the gym at 11 p.m. and just his cycle is totally different. But one size, I presume, does not suit all.
Not all. I think this is one of the big problems we have in society at the moment. Like the 5 a.m. club is a real problem for in corporate world, because you get people who want to be high achieving, who want to be high performance, and they're told, wake up at 5 in the morning and you're going to be a winner. Now, I've worked with some incredibly successful people, everyone from people running governments overseas. I've worked with celebrities, and I've worked with England footballers at West Ham, people like Declan Rice, Jared Bowen. And what I can tell you about successful people is they all sleep differently. And the really successful people, and what I often help them do, is I help them work out who they are and how do we fit the best sleep we can get, not perfect, the best sleep we can get within their schedules. So if they've got a job that involves some shift work, so the footballer will have a midweek game and they might be finishing work at 12 midnight. If it's in Europe, well, they're not going to sleep great that night, but we accept that. And as long as we're sleeping well the rest of the time, we'll get the best sleep we can. So it's the 5M club is a real problem, because sleep is fundamental to our health. Food, water, air, and sleep, the 4 things we need to live. If you didn't sleep for 10 days, you'd die. Your body won't let you do that. You can't, unless you've got a genetic disorder called fatal familial insomnia. Basically, that people with this genetic deficiency, they die from lack of sleep. The rest of us, our bodies will give us sleep because we need it. We will die without sleep. Unless you've got those, but if you don't exercise for 10 days, you'll be fine. And that is fundamentally, I think, a society where we're getting wrong. We are fetishizing exercise. We're claiming that that exercise will lead to high performance and success. And actually, sleeping well, lot more boring, a lot less Instagrammable. But actually, for your health and well-being, the starting point, because it affects your mental health. It affects your ability to do physical exercise. It affects your ability to eat healthily. You get your sleep right, everything else starts to follow suit. And unfortunately, I've been doing this for like 7-8 years, and we've seen a process of people becoming more aware of that sleep's important. When I was a teenager, I didn't realize that staying up all night was a problem. I just thought, I didn't even know I could go and get help with that. I lived it. I think now we're more aware, but that awareness is now leading to bad advice. It's leading to theories that aren't true. So in sport, there's a theory, the R90 theory. This is this idea that you work in cycles, and if you want to wake up at 7:30, you count back the cycles and you get to bed at 10, and there we go. You've sorted your sleep. The problem with sleep is you can't force it. You can't make yourself go to sleep. There's not a human alive who can make themselves fall asleep at the same time every night. And often, the more you try and fall asleep, the harder it gets. So the people I work with are often really good at the job. They're good at the job because they solve problems, and they're good at the job because they put effort in. So if you've been told for your entire career, work harder, get better, and then you come to your sleep with that attitude, it don't work. Understand Focus on winding down before bed. Focus on, is your schedule right for your body clock, as we discussed. And if you get those things right, then you'll start to work. So when Jake Humphries talks about world class basics, one of them is getting up at 5 in the morning. Yeah, that might be right for you, Jake, but that's not right for most people because you're more predisposed to be. It's a Larks and Owls is a line. It's not poles. So Larks, Owls, and we sit on a line between it. Most of us sit in the middle with a slight preference one way or the other.
Yeah.
To be naturally inclined to wake at 5 in the morning, that's probably somewhere between 5 and 10% of people. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
got people sort of espousing that as a route to success, and it just is not. It just is not.
Yeah. So people, because of these sort of try and shoehorn themselves into this 5 or 10% of society, which is just, I mean, sleep is like a mythical dragon, isn't it? The more we chase it, the further it goes
Well,
away.
I see my job as I'm like a horse whisperer and sleep's a booking bonko. My job is to talk. The people I work with, the people I coach, people, my colleagues at Kitmate work with. What we're doing is we're just trying to work out. We're investigators. We work out what it actually is that's causing the problem. And we coach you through that process of sleeping better. And that that is it's not often like anything out of this world. It could be as simple as getting a better mattress or pillow. It could be as simple as just changing your bedtime by 45 minutes, going to bed a bit later because you're trying to fall asleep at a time that your body's not quite ready for sleep. So it's not it's not often difficult, but if you're trying to do it yourself, it can be. And I think particularly if you look in the wrong places for the advice, and there's a lot of fear around sleep. The way that these people who sell solutions are trying to sell that solution is to scare you. If you don't sleep, there's a book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Really interesting book, really well written. In that book, it tells you if you have less than 7 hours sleep for one night, you're going to die, and that's not true. If that was true, parents would live would have shorter lives than people who don't have kids.
Yeah.
They don't. But that,
No science.
and that is reasoning for that is that, well, I'm trying to raise awareness of the importance of sleep, and I can tell him poor sleepers know the importance of sleep because we know what it feels like to sleep poorly, and I think that's a bit of my problem with some of the expertise. They think we're idiots, they think we're stupid. They're a doctor. I'm just James. I'm an idiot, and that was what I experienced, all those years ago with that sleep expert, and that unfortunately is still what pervades society sometimes, and we can be left feeling like we're the problem, and very rarely is it we're the problem. It's we've been told the wrong story around our sleep, and often imagine changing that story a little bit.
What's the most common tip that you give people with sleep? I mean, I don't want you to distill everything into one piece of advice, but what's the most common barrier or problem that people experience? Is it technology? Is it mattress? Is it, I don't know, co-sleeping?
It's out
What
of
would you
sync. I
say?
think being out of sync with your natural rhythm. So whether that might be you're going to bed,
Okay.
but if you're an owl and you go to bed too early, you just won't fall asleep. So if you're trying to get
Yeah.
up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you go to bed at 9 because you think you need 8 hours, and you're an owl, you'll just lay there getting more stressed. And what happens is after about 15 minutes, your body starts to produce wake up hormones because you're getting stressed. So stress hormones, basically, as an animal, we're designed when we're stressed and anxious, when we're under attack, when we're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, because this is what keeps us alive when we have predators. When that's
Yeah.
happening, we won't sleep because you don't want to be asleep when you're being chased by a predator. So if your body thinks you're stressed, it will be harder to get to sleep. And by going to bed too early, you're going to just not go to sleep. And then you end up going to bed later
Mm.
than you would normally, maybe falling asleep 11, 12, 1, 2 in the morning, still waking up at 5 for your exercise routine because that's what your schedule you've created. And if you are getting up at 5 in the morning as an owl, so you might be a shift worker, for example, still go to bed at go to bed at half 10, 11. You'll probably fall asleep within half an hour. You'll probably get better quality sleep because sleep's not just about how much, it's about how good. And you're getting the best sleep you can within your body's natural rhythm, but also the parameters of your work. Because some people are lucky enough to be able to wake up at 5 in the morning and that's a choice. Some people don't. I think particularly in the hospitality industry, that can be something that we can't choose, but we can do better at getting the best sleep we can. So I work with shift workers all the time, from the NHS to people within factories, to people within retail, to people within hospitality. And it's often we need to understand what our sleep type is to be able to work out a routine that works for us. But if you're a lot, you're an early type. Yeah, as we get later, we get more sleepy, we get more appetite for sleep builds. But what happens? So I'm a bit of an early type. What happens to me is if I get to about 11. My body thinks, well, why is James up at this time? This is not normal.
Mm.
About to partay. I'll give him some adrenaline. So I can feel like if I get still too late, I can feel the sleep kicking. I'll then not fall asleep till 1, but I'm still an early time, so I'll wake up between 5 and 7 because that's my natural rhythm. And I think it's understanding that sort of fundamental of what your rhythm is a starting point. And it's I don't like when people choose to wake up at 5 in the morning because I feel like that's the wrong choice. A lot of us, and I think the people we're probably talking to on this podcast on this YouTube channel are people who might have to get up at 5 in the morning, might have to work late, and it's then making sure that they're getting the best sleep they can. So that might be, for example, if you've done a night shift and you get in at 6, 7 in the morning, you've travelled home from work, it might be 45 minutes on a train, 45 minutes on a tube or on a bus or driving. You get home, you're shattered. You rush straight to bed then. Yes, you will fall asleep, but actually, you'll then probably wake up after 3 or 4 hours. Because outside, there's lots of things saying to your body, wake up. It's warm, it's light, there's noise.
Mm.
And by not winding down properly, so actually, although you're shattered and you could fall asleep as soon as you get in, the best piece of advice I can give shift workers coming off a night shift is actually take an hour to wind down. You just take that hour to wind
Mm.
down. Get ready for bed, like have a bath or shower, get in your pajamas, watch something like a bit trashy or repetitive or funny, but allow the work that decompression time from work to sleep. Same thing applies if you're working late. So you might be on a late shift, you might have finished late, you might be getting in at 12, 1 in the morning. You could rush to bed then, but you've been working maybe 45 minutes earlier. If you rush to bed, you'll fall asleep, but more than likely your quality of sleep will be less. You'll have some adrenaline. You might wake up and struggle to get back to sleep. Because we wake up every night 3 to 6 times a night.
Mm.
When you don't remember it, it's because you've only woke up for less than 5 minutes and you've fallen straight back into your sleep cycle. So if we can like decompress properly, whether we're going to sleep at 7 in the morning or going to sleep at 1 in the morning, then we're more likely to get more sleep and better quality sleep. But it's very difficult to sleep for 8, 9 hours in a day if you've been working all night. And that might be you have to use naps to fill in the sleep you didn't get, maybe nap for less than 30 minutes. So it's an energy boost rather than stealing your sleep the next time you go to sleep. Food's quite important for shift workers. So, don't have a heavy meal as you start your shift. If you're having a fish and chips just as you start a night shift, you're going to struggle to stay awake in that time. You can use
Mm.
like light boxes. You can get light boxes that mimic the sun. So if you've got an early shift and you're waking up at 3, 4 in the morning to go and do an early shift, this light box, just put it on while you're getting dressed, about 30 quid off Amazon. And what it does, it says to your body, it's daytime. And that then means you produce cortisol, a wake up hormone. You will not be like skipping down the street to go to work singing Morning is Broken, but you're more likely to feel a little bit more awake. And I think so. A lot of the common things we're dealing with are trying to get people the best sleep they can within a schedule that maybe doesn't quite match their natural rhythm. So we are looking to get the best sleep we can. We're not looking for perfect.
I think some of the issues, obviously, we've got the students that are in hospitality school that are shortly. I mean, students have this reputation of being out late and partying and all that, so they've kind of got that to contend with. The social life of being at university, going into hospitality, which has always had this, and less so now, admittedly, but it's always had this toxicity, almost like long shifts as a badge of honor. So, I remember when I worked in hospitality and. Have you ever had been on a late and the night porters rang in sick? It's like, no, not yet. Oh, well, that's on its way. You're gonna have to pull a double shift, and it happened inevitably. And there was this badge of honor to working long hours, which it's just, yeah, they're contending with that as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think also the age of that. So between 13 and our mid-20s, we're more likely to be an owl. We are more likely to be a late type. So that's where actually hospitality can, it fits it fits an issue. I was talking to a parent of a 19-year-old just last week whose daughter has sleep problems. She also gets sleep, so she works in a nightclub because it fits her
Yeah.
body with it. She's more of an owl. She's also, as a teenager, it's still no something in terms of sleep in her teenage years. She's more likely to be predisposed to being later, and she's worked around it. But the thing is, she gets 25, 26. Actually, she might underline, she might be a bit more larkish, a bit more of an early type, and then it could become quite difficult. And I know when we work in hospitality, as we have families, as we move into sort of like having relationships, it can be difficult because if you're doing shift work, your families can often be quite they might Like the amount of shift workers I get who maybe work a night shift and then they come home and they've got a list of jobs to do during the day. Well, yeah, that's your sleep time. So some of this is actually having compassionate conversations with the people around you as well, and actually saying, I haven't slept. I need to sleep. I can't do these 15 things that you've left for me today because I need to recover. Sleep is recovery. It's what it is. I think the students you talk to, their body's natural rhythm will have more predisposition to sleep, to be a late type. They will, if they are out partying, if they are, if they are enjoying being students, alcohol is an interesting drug when it comes to sleep because it knocks you out, but it doesn't give you sleep. But also, so 4 hours knocks you out, sedates. After about 7 hours, it stimulates, it wakes you up. So if you've ever had a skinful and you went to bed at 2, for example, in the morning, and you woke up at 6 thinking, why am I awake? I feel shattered. Beauty of alcohol. It doesn't help sleep. And I get that a lot where people are, oh, James, I sleep fine. I have a bottle of wine before bed and I'm sleeping great. Alcohol doesn't give you sleep, it gives you sedation. And that's not recovery. And doing that over a long period of time just means that you're not recovering properly. Sleep is really important for physical recovery, but also important for emotional recovery. And in fact, if you're sleeping poorly, it's the stage of sleep where we emotionally recover, REM sleep, which is most affected because we're more likely to wake up, we're less likely to get REM sleep, and therefore our emotional resilience is impacted. And that means it manifests itself. You've got a bit of a arsehole customer. The day before you slept well, you can deal with that. Next day, it's a lot harder to manage that emotion.
Yeah. Okay, so I woke up this morning quite smug because on my Garmin, I got a sleep score of 94. I don't think I've ever got 94 before. Rewind a couple of days. It's a bit of a case study for you, this. So I did a 20-mile fell run race on Saturday. Got home. I was exhausted, but it was Saturday night, so I wanted to have a takeaway with my wife. I had a couple of beers and a glass of wine. Went to bed about 12. Slept really poorly. Then last night didn't have a drink. Went to bed at the normal time and just smashed out this terrific 94% sleep. Talk me through what was happening from the day of the race up until this morning.
So yeah, we'll start with an underlying disclaimer that wearables are very inaccurate when it comes to sleep. So you've got to be a little bit careful of taking that wearable as gospel. Good for trends, so good looking at it over time. And if something 3 or 4 days is not the norm, then maybe something to investigate. But bad night on night because it could just be anomaly, particularly poor sleep could be an anomaly. And often, as someone who is a sleep entrepreneur and sits with investors, they are trying to create apps and offerings that are sticky. And the best way to create a sticky sleep app is to keep telling people are sleeping poorly. Oh, and guess what? We've got the solution. So that's my disclaimer. But looking at that, what I would say, so if you've done that amount of physical exercise, you'll create a lot of adrenaline, cortisol. That maybe sticks. That may be still in your bloodstream as we go into bed. So you've created physical exhaustion. That's good for sleep. Exercise generally is brilliant for sleep. The closer we exercise to bed, the more it might impact on your sleep. So half an hour before bed, you're exercising. There was some research on this recently. You're going to really struggle to sleep. I don't know how they did the research, whether they had a sleep lab next to a gym and just chuck people into bed, but that's what the research. A general rule: 3 hours from exercise to sleep. But then you've done that, so you've had your exercise. Now, maybe if you've not had some alcohol and a heavy meal, you might have just gone to sleep, and that recovery sleep was better. By then having the alcohol and heavy meal, we just talked about alcohol can disturb sleep quite significantly. When we have a heavy meal too close to bedtime, it raises our core temperature. To fall asleep, we need a drop in heart rate, drop in core temperature. So if you are eating a heavy meal, it might raise your core temperature, therefore makes your sleep more disturbed. So you've got a bit of a double book. You've got three things there: exercise, you've got alcohol, and you've got heavy meal. That all those things could be. And the amount of self-analysis, because often if you're doing physical exercise and it involves competition, it might be, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. So in football in particular, we always find that night after a game, the adrenaline, the cortisol, the supplements, like if you supplemented caffeine during that race, you then add on top, well, I could have, if I took that chance, or I'd not missed that pass, or you can start self-analyze. So those things might be happening. Now, last night, it could be that actually the best thing for good night's sleep tonight is a bad night's sleep last night? Because sleep is an instinct. We need
Mm.
your body wants to give you sleep. And it's not just about giving you more sleep, but when you slept poorly, it wants to give you better quality sleep. So that might explain the higher score because it might not just be about duration. It could be about you've actually had, from what the Garmin's saying, better deep sleep, physical recovery, which is more than likely because you've physically exerted the 2 days previous. And it might also give you a better emotional sleep, which might be because you've drank some alcohol, you've done some exercise, you have eaten a heavy meal, which might have impacted on your REM sleep, and therefore you're making up for that REM sleep. So actually, if we can turn our brains off, the best thing for good night's sleep tonight is a bad night's sleep last night. And as a poor sleeper, that has been one of the most powerful sort of like mantras that I've used. I used to sleep poorly, and then it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Woke up, had 3 hours, going to sleep poorly tonight. Woke up, 3 hours, sleep poorly. Now, if I sleep poorly, so if I stay away from home, if I'm staying away from my wife, and also I'm going to be honest, we took it to the hospitality industry. Some hotels maybe sleep isn't their priority. I'm not a fan. We talk to hotel people. Please stop putting feather on down pillows in your hotel rooms. They do not support people's heads properly, and they are really bad for giving people a good night's sleep. Might be very luxurious and look good on the bed, not very good for supporting heads. I'll often remind myself if I had a poor night's sleep, well, yeah, but I'm gonna sleep well tonight because I've had a bad night's sleep. As long as I don't get too stressed about it, I'll be all right. And I think that's something quite powerful because as poor sleepers, it can become a story of unfairness. Oh, it's not fair. Other people,
Yeah.
well, that's not fair. My
Yeah.
wife is a brilliant sleeper. She mocks me with her good sleep, and that's often what happens. Good sleepers and poor sleepers get into relationships, and it can be very frustrating. And I think it's worth remembering that now. So that I would say that explains. I would say that would be my best explanation of what's happened to you over the weekend in terms of your sleep.
It's such a there's so much to unpack there, so many questions that I want to ask, but I just want to go back to wearables. So I'm used to my Garmin now, but prior to that, when I was kind of getting used to wearing a wearable, I used to just I'd kind of almost 2 a.m. I'd rip my watch off and throw it across the room because I don't want that pressure. I don't want to wake up and see what a poor sleep score I'd got. That's in turn that's you're putting pressure on yourself to get to sleep, which is the worst possible thing to do. So wearables, good or bad, or somewhere in between.
Well, they've created a name for what you described. It's called orthosomnia. It's where technology impacts on your sleep in such a negative way that it becomes incredibly poor sleep. So, in all honesty, at the moment, generally, and this includes trackers on your phone, there's apps like Sleep Cycle on your phone,
Mm.
which claim to track your sleep using radio frequencies. They're just not very accurate, any of them, and they can say like we've proven it against polysomnograph, which is what you use in clinics. But that is in a clinical environment where you can control the situation far better than you can do if you and I using them in our own bedroom. So I would say they drive in good sleepers. They can be good because they can reaffirm that you're a good sleeper, but you know you're a good sleeper. So do you actually need it?
Yeah.
Poor sleepers, they reaffirm that you're a poor sleeper, and they just make you feel worse. What I do, so if I'm working with someone with a wearable, I rarely take the wearable off them because that doesn't work. It's a behavioural ploy. Me going stop wearing your wearable, I don't think it works. What I do is I get them to ask themselves 3 questions alongside the wearable data. So I had a football I worked with last season whose wearable was telling them that they were only getting, I think, 3% of their REM sleep need and probably 5% of their deep sleep need. I didn't agree with it because she looked like she was sleeping all right. I can tell when someone's sleeping, but if the sleep was as bad as the wearable was telling her, I would have been able to. I think it'd be more obvious in her performance and the way she presented herself day to day from her body language and just you see it in the eyes and the shoulders. So I got a 2 week period. I got her every day to ask herself 3 questions and to think about her sleep with these 3 questions. So how quickly did she fall asleep when she went to sleep? If you fall asleep like that, like immediately, so I get a lot of people say, James, I'm a great sleeper. I fall asleep as soon as my head hits the pillow. That's not good. That's a sign of sleep deprivation. That means you've not met your
Mm.
sleep need in the nights previous. More than 30 minutes, that's the sign of like poor sleep. That means it's taking too long to get to sleep. So that might be you're going to bed at the wrong time. That might be you're too stressed. It might be you're not winding down properly. But
Yeah.
that's address that question. Second question we ask is how many times do you remember waking in your sleep? So every night, every time you sleep, you wake up roughly, if you're trying to sleep for 8 hours, you'll wake up 3 to 6 times in that time. The reason you don't remember it when you sleep well is you need to be awake for 5 minutes to remember it. So if
Oh, okay.
you've been awake for less than 5 minutes, you just don't remember it. So you wake up, there's not a human alive who sleeps through the night. You can't sleep through the night. Part of that defense mechanism. We're coming out of the sleep cycle to check that we're safe. Your hearing
Yeah.
turns on before every other sense and turns on after it. It's all about not getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. When we had predators, we're slower, we're weaker. We're sleeping in a place that a saber-toothed tiger can get us. What our defense
Yeah.
was, our ability to react to the external environment and shift as quickly as we can. So if we don't remember waking at all, good quality sleep. Once or twice, go back to bed, go back to sleep, not a problem. More than twice, or we've stayed awake for more than 30 minutes, then there's the quality of sleep is quite poor. So I'd be looking at that. If I was getting a couple of nights of more than 3 or staying up for a long time, I'd want to start doing something about it. The last question we ask is, how do you feel at 10, 11 in the morning? Because at 10, 11 in the morning, your rhythm, in terms of your body's natural rhythm, that's when you should be at your most alert.
Yeah.
It can be difficult for shift workers, so this doesn't really work. That last one doesn't really work for them. But if we take those 3 things, so let's score them out of 3. If we get a sort of more than one, probably 2 out of 3 for those 3 things, then I'm happy. So for 2 weeks, I got the player to compare, just to score. I didn't tell her why we're comparing it, and at the end, we looked at her tracker data and we looked at at what she said about actually how she felt about her sleep and what her sleep was telling her, and she's sleeping fine. The tracker was still telling her that she's getting no sleep, and I think that's where wearables can become actually really, really, really bad for sleep and be creating a problem that doesn't need to exist.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's such a disparity between the different brands as well. I started off with a Fitbit, and that used to say I was having no deep sleep. And honestly, I consigned myself to an early death because of it. Went on to Samsung, and that was pretty much the same. And then once I got a Garmin, the stats were a lot better. It was saying, like last night I look an hour's deep sleep. And how can Fitbit and there's such a big disparity
Yeah, in
between them.
different sensors, and actually measuring heart rate here is really poor. Like, so the one that probably I'd say performs best is the Aura Ring, which is a ring that you wear for sleep. It's probably the best one, because actually taking an accurate heart rate reading is easier on your finger than it is on
Yeah.
your wrist. So a lot of it, like the algorithms, like the best way to describe it is a good guess. They're having a good guess at where you are. A tracker can't really tell whether you're in REM sleep. It's in clinic, you're using different sensors, using things here. I don't think it can accurately say whether you're in REM sleep or not. Deep sleep's easier. I think deep sleep is easier to predict. But the thing is,
Yeah.
with technology, you've got to go through a process of it getting better. And to me, the utopian future of sleep technology and sleep tracking is a tracker where you don't know you're being tracked, or you
Yeah.
know you're being tracked, but you don't get the data. And you've got someone like me, or you've got AI, or you've got something that actually, when it's all right, you don't need to know. It's only when it's not right does intervention happen. That is the best way to be able to track our sleep, because sleep isn't nutrition. You can't make yourself sleep better.
No.
Not exercise. You can't make yourself exercise. Like, you can exercise more, but you can't sleep more. I can't make you fall asleep at 10 and wake up at 7. And that's why tracking doesn't work. It works with diet because you can do something about the data. It works with exercise because you can do something about the data. It doesn't work with sleep because you can't do anything. You can't really influence that data directly. You can wind down better. You can go to bed at a time that suits you better. You have a consistent wake up time. You can, if you wake up in the night, you can do things to relax yourself. You can have a mattress and pillow that means you can sleep in a healthy posture, either on your side or your back. You have a duvet that helps you manage your temperature better. Your partner doesn't snore. Your kids aren't annoying. Your pet isn't barking. The bloke down the road doesn't get up in the middle of the night and slam his door. It's so many different factors can come into poor sleep that trackers don't really give us data that is useful, I would say, at the moment, and probably give us more data than we actually can contextualize efficiently.
So what I'm interested to find out is, do you use a sleep tracker or not?
No, I don't. I've tried them. I was using one of the radio frequency ones next to my bed a couple of weeks ago. So I used this tracker for 2 weeks. I've met the people at the company who like the people. They said that it's been proven against against clinic, can be used to prove whether like a mattress works well or another piece of sleep technology works well. So right, I'll give it a go. So for 2 weeks I used it. For 9 of the nights of the 2 week period, it didn't track all the way through the night. It wasn't picking me up my sleep. So the idea is these radio frequency sensors, they pick up your respiratory rate and they can see how you're breathing, and therefore that will dictate how how well you've slept. So you probably got to be facing them. I mean, if you turn away, that's probably why that broke. For 3 nights, it told me that I was awake all night, and I wasn't. And I get that a lot from people I work with. Phone calls from James, the tracker says I've been awake all night. Were you awake all night? No. Okay, we've solved that problem.
It's wrong.
And one night that was probably close to what I actually slept. So I've used most of them at some point. As a poor sleeper, they make me sleep worse because I'm thinking about doing this job's quite difficult as a poor sleeper. So
Yeah.
I thinking about my sleep around bedtime doesn't work for me. But I think those 3 questions work far better than any tracker or wearable will, in terms of giving you usable data on what your body's telling you, not what a tracker's telling you. Your body will tell you when you're sleepy. Sleep is not a number; it's a feeling. It's not a time; it's a feeling. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. The sleep need is not. I need 8 hours sleep. It's I feel like I've met my need because I feel alert and active at 10, 11 in the morning, because I fell asleep between 5 and 30 minutes, because I don't remember waking in the night. Sleep needs not a number, it's a feeling. Sleep is not a number I need to be in bed by, it's a feeling. And I think that's what I try and teach people. Understand your sleep, and understand that sometimes it will be bad. Work, stress, stress at work, relationships, kids, pets, your sports team's rubbish. All these things impact on your sleep.
In a minute, I'm going to ask you to leave anyone watching with your 3 top tips to get a good night's sleep. I'm going to give you 2 of mine, see whether you agree with them. And they're just ones that I've learned from bitter experience over the years, because I'm one of these people that I'll generally sleep okay, but if I've got something on the next day, or and even worse if it's early, if I've got to get up to get a train or something like that, you can guarantee a catastrophic night's sleep. Two things that I do. One is I never, ever, 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 ever look at the clock when I wake up. And number 2 is if I've been awake, say for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, I go and sleep on the settee. One, because I don't want to keep my wife awake. She's the opposite. Like last night, for instance, I got up this morning and I said, "You all right? You sleep all right?" And then I said, "No, you didn't, because you were up on your phone." I remember waking up and, the backlight on her phone was, how light it is in a dark room, a phone lighting up, or she's put a toothbrush on charge and that's flashing. I said, "Because you were up on your phone, weren't you?" And she just kind of like nodded. I would never do that. One, because I'd see the time, and 2, because it'd stimulate my brain too much. They're my 2 tips. Disagree or agree?
So I think the looking at the clock generally is a good one. Although this is that thing with prescriptive advice. I got taught that as a practitioner. I worked with someone who had a panic attack because they didn't know what time it was in the night. So actually, it's about what really.
What works for you?
What works for you? And we'll come on to talk. It's good sleep's about emotional and physical security. So what makes you feel secure? That is it. And it can be smell. It can be touch. It's like, do you feel safe? And I think, you're looking at your phone in the night is not a good idea. To your brain, it's a wake up thing. The light it's more about what you're doing. Like, this is a wake up thing. And so if you go downstairs and like do some housework, or you do some work from work, that's daytime stuff. Your brain's going. If you have a cup of tea, that might for you be an indicator that it gets your brain going.
Yeah.
At 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes, you need to reset. If you've been in bed for that long and you're not asleep, whether it's as you go to bed at night or wake up in the middle of the night, you need to reset. So that would be, it could be listening to something. It could be, so my problem is wake up in the night. What I will do is I'll do like an A to Z of of a football team. If you're struggling with Z, there's an Egyptian team, or there's SC's Wall in Holland. I'll give you a little tip there, because that's gonna be that's where I used to get stuck. It might be counting back from 1,000. It might be just finding those mental models that work for you. Could be listening to something. So it could be listening to spoken word book. Could be listening to like a talk radio. Music you love, emotional connection. Again, if you love that music, you feel safe. So emotional connection. Some people can do that in bed. Some people get out of bed and do it. For some people, getting out of bed is actually that's enough to say it's time to wake up. For other people,
Mm.
getting out of bed is actually I don't want to wake my partner up, or it might be my partner being asleep and I'm awake annoys me. Um, Now it could be. No, I don't want. I was just based on that one story. Your wife might be a little bit of a sleep dictator, and she's not. She's not too concerned about your sleep, and she's more concerned about what she needs to do. That happens a lot in relationships. That's about having
Mm.
passionate conversations. Actually, how do we create environments and routines that work for both people? Because whatever you believe in up above or you don't, whatever's making that decision, it has a bit of a sixth sense of humor when it comes to sleep because it'll put together an Lark and an Owl. It'll put together a good sleeper and a poor sleeper. It'll put together a gold sleeper. And all those things create arguments. And
Yeah.
I've heard some quite people who will cut their toenails in bed with their partners laid next to them, people reading books with head torture,
Wow.
a fellow who ate a sandwich in bed because mummy used to bring me a sandwich before bed every night. So that was his reasoning.
Oh dear.
A lot of issues there that probably aren't sleep related around that behaviour, but I think it's so those two things that work for you, do them, but at least, but I think the important thing is actually you addressing the issue, and I think that's the worst thing we can do is just lay there looking at the ceiling. The worst thing we can do
Yeah.
is do behaviours that actually make us sleep worse. So if looking at the clock wakes you up, then don't look at the clock. If looking at the clock gives you reassurance, then look at the clock.
You've given some really good advice, particularly for students and people entering hospitality because of the, I suppose, additional challenges that they have. I'm also thinking people at university and halls of residences with poor mattresses, co-sleeping with people, like they don't know, they've not got a sleep history with, as well as going into hospitality and working those long hours and weird sleep patterns and partying as well. Taking all that into consideration, give us your top three pieces of advice to leave us with.
So if you are sleeping in unfamiliar environment, take a smell from home. So it might be a partner, it might be a parent, it could be the wash. So when I work with like footballers who have moved into new digs and it's the first time they've been on away from home, we'll get them to use the washing powder they use at home. So that bedding
Mm.
smells like home. We'll get them to bring things from home, things that reassure them, that make them feel safe. So that'd be my first tip. If you're in a noisy environment, wear some earplugs. I always, if I'm traveling the country, I keep earplugs and an eye mask in my bag because you never know light levels, you never know noise levels where you're going. And is that sleep fundamentally is about being emotionally and physically secure. So what can we do to create that security? Get ready for bed as you start winding down. If you're ready for bed, as soon as you feel sleepy, you can go to bed. One of the biggest mistakes we make, we'll start winding down, we'll sat on the sofa, and we will and then we'll think I'll go to bed, but we start doing stuff. We'll lock the doors, we'll put the pets out, we'll enter the dishwasher. See the hour before bed as part of your sleep. You're ready, you're winding down, you're watching something funny, you're watching something repetitive, you're watching something trashy. Stay clear of the news, stay clear of documentaries, stay clear of horror films, and you're trying to get your brain to wind down. And don't worry too much about it. If you are prone to poor sleep, you might be rubbish at sleeping, but you're brilliant at being tired. You always get through tomorrow because you've always got through tomorrow. And
Yeah.
when we stop worrying about the damaging effect of poor sleep, we start to sleep better. And as a poor sleeper, the most powerful thing for me was building my toolbox that with all the tips and tactics that work for me and an acceptance that, yeah, I'm a poor sleeper, but I'm flipping brilliant at being tired. So I will get through tomorrow.
Just before I let you go, 'cause you're a busy man, but just one last, an entirely selfish thing. Can you recommend any particularly a good brand of earplugs? Because not so much for my wife, but when I go, admittedly, it's less so these days. When I go on a stag do, a twin room with my best friend, and he is a horrendous snorer, like so loud to the point where I thought I'm actually, I've got a full day's drinking tomorrow. I'm actually not going to get any sleep, so I took my duvet into the bathroom at the Premier Inn, shut the door, and then he woke me up going for a wee at 5 a.m. So he's not even happy with me having like no sleep. He's also trying to bust his way into the bathroom at 5 a.m. Is there any, the earplugs I took just didn't, they were little foam things and they did nothing.
Not great other ones. Yeah. So there's actually I'm talking to someone tomorrow about AirPlug because their product looks really interesting. They're called ACS Solutions. They come from a music background, and they are earplugs that are designed to your ear. So they are designed to totally block sound out. So earplug designed for you. A lot more affordable than I thought they were going to be. Because you can go, there's a Finnish brand that it's a couple of like 300, 400 quid, and it hooks into frequencies to block stuff out. But that you know, as someone who loves, I work with people, you know, people like you and me who we're not, you know, we ain't got 400 quid maybe to spend on a pair of earplugs. So I think these ACS solution ones look something that I find that I look interesting to me, for me to use with the people I work with. And I think we're talking, I can't remember exactly which job, but I know they're £100. They're bespoke to you, and they do sort of create a earplug that blocks you. Because that's it, with the little ones you do like that, often they'll end up pinging out during the night. And
Yeah.
you've got heavy, like you, stag do's, mates, beer, spicy food. In fact, me
Hell on
and
earth.
we all have separate rooms when we go away together, because, and I started the trend because I'm like, I'm not sleeping with you lot anymore. It's not the best experience, and you know I can be a bit prone to snoring as well. But yeah, I think apart from separate rooms, I think those ACS solutions earplugs are pretty good.
Brilliant. James, thank you so much for your time. I presume you're available for work with well-known and not so well-known hotel hospitality brands that may want your advice in terms of creating, and Premier Inn have done it so well over the years, haven't they? They've zoomed in on a good night's sleep, a good night's sleep guarantee. There's mileage in it. I should presume you're available to work with
I am. I work with
hospitality
everything
brands.
with staff in terms of helping them understand their sleep. We can train staff in terms of like helping guests sleep better. We help hotels design sleep environments that are conducive to sleep. So we help them pick the right mattresses, duvets, pillows, blackout blinds, and create those environments. We create content for internal systems, like, you know, you sort of like your TV, that you can put some sleep advice on there. And we are just launching our Sleep Geek certified scheme, which that's for products and services which help people sleep better. We're trying to help consumers make better decisions when it comes to buying things that's supposed to help you sleep better. And hotels is a area where I think, you know, there are some great hotels out there that take sleep seriously, and there's some hotels that are not so great. And I think, you know, the research shows that, you know, guests, the main thing guests judge a hotel on in terms of whether they're rating it afterwards is the quality of sleep they got. And you know, well, I want to help hotels working within budgets. I like a challenging budget. You know, trying to get the best sleep we can within a per room budget that's challenging, helping them help their guests get the best sleep possible.
Brilliant. And are you available for, if universities are interested in you doing guest lecture spots?
All that stuff as well,
These
yeah.
days?
University. If people are trying to sleep better, whoever it might be, organisations, you know, in hospitality and education, and even individuals, we have an app, Sort Your Kip. So if you go to kipmate.com, you can find out more about what I do, or the sleepgeek.co.uk. That talks a lot about my work, and I am on social media as the Sleep Geek. Please give me a follow because it makes me feel better about myself.
Thank you, James. Genuinely, could have talked to you all day about it. So, but yeah,
Well,
up the Millers, and thank you so much. So we've got time for this week. Like and share the video because it helps us attract celebrities like James. See you next week.
Here we go!